Every sitcom has its sacred truths, its invisible lines never crossed. And in The Big Bang Theory, a show built on the brilliant and the socially awkward, it had one of the most subtle yet powerful unwritten rules in TV comedy: never underestimate the quiet genius. Over 12 seasons, Sheldon Cooper ridiculed almost everyone. From Leonard's comparative mediocrity, "You're a physicist, not a real scientist," to Howard's engineering, "You're just the guy who builds things I think up," and Penny's lack of a formal education, "I weep for humanity." Sheldon wielded his 187 IQ like a sword forged in arrogance. But even Sheldon, grandmaster of social insensitivity, never mocked one character's intelligence: Bernadette Rostenkowski-Wolowitz. At first glance, Bernadette seems like someone Sheldon might immediately dismiss. She's short, blonde, and works in a field adjacent to his own, microbiology. But unlike Penny, who became the object of Sheldon's endless jabs due to her average intellect, Bernadette occupied a strange neutral space in his hierarchy of respect. He'd snark at Amy, insult Leonard, and scoff at Raj, but Bernadette, he rarely, if ever, attacked her smarts. And that's not by accident. That was the show's unwritten rule, and for good reason. To understand why, one must delve deeper into the psychology of Sheldon Cooper. Sheldon respected two things above all: intellect and precision. He didn't care for empathy, emotions, or even basic social norms. But he respected the mind, not just brilliance, but how one wielded it. For Sheldon, intelligence wasn't about test scores. It was about clarity, correctness, and the ruthless pursuit of truth. Bernadette was a microbiologist with a PhD and a six-figure pharmaceutical job, yes, but more importantly, she had intellectual dominance in a way that was different from Sheldon's. She didn't flaunt her brilliance. She didn't argue about quantum mechanics or string theory. She just knew things, said them once, and moved on, like a quiet storm of efficiency. There's an episode in season 5 where Bernadette offhandedly mentions to Howard that she makes significantly more money than him, something Sheldon immediately hears and registers. For Sheldon, income isn't a direct measure of intelligence, but it does correlate in his mental hierarchy. He later refers to her as an intimidating economic force, not sarcastically, but with the same mixture of fear and admiration one might reserve for a theoretical black hole. Another time, during a heated debate about the dangers of experimental testing on lab animals, Bernadette schools Sheldon on ethical science protocols with such command and composure that he goes silent. Sheldon goes silent. That's rarer than a Higgs boson on a coffee break. But the true reason Sheldon never made fun of her intelligence isn't just fear, it's recognition. Bernadette's genius lies in her emotional intelligence, something Sheldon doesn't possess but can dimly perceive, like an astrophysicist detecting dark matter. She reads people. She controls situations. She doesn't engage in petty ego battles because she knows she's already won. In many ways, Bernadette was the smartest person in the room, and Sheldon, the king of IQ, knew it. The writers of The Big Bang Theory were clever in preserving this dynamic. They crafted Bernadette as the only character who could match Sheldon not in scientific accolades, but in sheer presence. Remember the time she yells at Howard and Raj, instantly turning them into obedient children? That power wasn't theatrical, it was calculated. The voice, the glare, the perfect mix of authority and annoyance. Even Sheldon recognized it. "She scares me," he once said, flatly. Not mockingly, not hyperbolically, just truthfully. And truth, to Sheldon, is the ultimate virtue. There's another layer to this unwritten rule: Sheldon only mocks what he understands. He jokes about engineers because he understands engineering enough to belittle it. He mocks Leonard's research because he considers it derivative. But with Bernadette's work, he stays silent. Not because it's beneath him, but because it's outside his domain. And Sheldon, for all his pride, never fights battles he's unsure of. That's part of his own self-preservation. He also never calls Bernadette dumb, because, deep down, he knows he can't win in a verbal sparring match with her. Penny, he can out-logic. Leonard, he can out-talk. But Bernadette, she cuts through nonsense with one look and a comment that could end a grown man's self-esteem in 2 sentences or less. Sheldon lives by rigid, albeit strange, rules. One of them is his roommate agreement, another is his obsession with structure, but perhaps the most important is his internal ranking of intellectual threat. And Bernadette, while not flaunting it, sat near the top of that pyramid. Not because she tried to be there, but because she didn't have to. The show rarely points this out directly, but it doesn't have to. That's what makes it an unwritten rule. Watch closely, and you'll notice that Sheldon is more respectful to Bernadette than he is to most. He corrects Amy. He argues with Leonard. He talks down to Raj. But with Bernadette, he speaks carefully, formally, even, almost, deferentially. It's as if, in some quiet moment between time loops and flag symposiums, Sheldon made peace with the fact that intelligence takes many forms. Some of it is measurable, like IQ. Some of it, like Bernadette's sharp insight and ironclad self-control, is not. And Sheldon, socially inept, yet intellectually rigid, gave it the only honor he knew how. He didn't make fun of it. That's the real brilliance of the Big Bang Theory. It knew when to shout a joke from the rooftops, and when to whisper a truth so gently that it lingers long after the laugh track fades. So next time you watch Sheldon sit quietly as Bernadette enters the room, remember, even the smartest man in Pasadena knew there were some minds not to be messed with. And that, friends, is the power of an unwritten rule. Would you like this adapted into a script format or turned into a video voiceover piece?